Good morning, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Hopefully, you've had a good Thanksgiving and having a good start to your Black Friday by the time you see this. So, I will be having a weekend forecast, but it will not be in this morning's video because we have a little bit more of an urgent matter to attend to here. It's not super urgent yet, and there's no need to be scared. But I did mention in yesterday morning's video, link will be in the top right for that, by the way, that there was a day 6 slight risk. Very rare to be issued by the Storm Prediction Center. Well, if we look now, that's been upgraded to a day 5 enhanced risk. Extremely rare. There's very high likelihood that there will be conditions coming together for severe weather, and really all modes of severe weather will be possible. But when I looked at the models right around the time I woke up this morning, I had plenty of reason to believe that this would happen. So let's go ahead and go over the areas that are at greatest risk as of right now. We have, dadgone it, come on. We have this slight risk area stretching all the way from Jackson, Tennessee, all the way down towards Houston. The areas in between, we have Little Rock involved again. We have Greenville, Mississippi. In the enhanced risk, actually, we have Jackson, Mississippi in the slight. We have most of western Louisiana, central Louisiana involved here. When we get into the enhanced risk, we're looking at places like Alexandria involved as well. Then over towards Texas, we can't leave out Lufkin and areas further off to the west, paralleling the city of Houston. So, given the fact that we're this far out, it's going to be hard to kind of hone in on the exact threat types that we'll be dealing with, or the most probable hazard types. We'll get into that a little bit later into the video when we look at some skew T charts, but from what I'm seeing, from what I got to see a little bit this morning in brief detail, I do think that everything is going to be on the table here. The storm mode is going to be very questionable, but from what I can see, it's looking pretty intense here. Let's go ahead and look at this storm system that's going to be rolling in on the vorticity map here. My favorites. Excuse me. Here we are on the evening of the 28th with this storm system rolling in. It's bringing in a lot of cold air with it, but if you look closely at these little ISO bars here, where we get into that little 576, 579, 582, that's pretty warm air starting to come in. And this is what we lacked with the last system. This was what we couldn't really hone in on early. And this is what ultimately kept the severe threat down to marginal, kept it at a minimum, so to speak. Is the fact that we didn't have much warm air to work with. It wasn't, these two air masses were not clashing. We kind of see even a little bit of a ridge developing here. So plenty of warm air out ahead of this system, which is bringing a rich amount of cold air. And we'll take a closer look at that in just a moment, actually, after we do a comparison. But you can see on the 29th here, here's that cold air with this system right here, and then here's our warm sector right here. And these two are going to meet up, and we all know what happens next. So there will be plenty of energy to go around here, and this will probably be a late evening and potentially even overnight severe weather event, because there's still plenty of warm air once we get into the overnight hours here, which is a little bit alarming. We'll have to keep an eye on this and see what it does next, but looks like there's going to be some energy also lingering around towards the southeast, so we'll have to watch that on the 30th. But we'll move this along. We also have to watch for the potential for some winter weather on the backside of this. Still plenty of energy, and we do seem like we are getting a little bit more of a moisture return. I'll be talking more about that as well in a minute. But looks like we got a pretty big storm on the way, folks, if this trend holds. And so far, I mean, I've looked at this for almost a week now, and I have reason to believe it should, but we'll see what happens next. And then over towards the start of December, we have another storm system, which we'll go over probably on Saturday a little bit more intently. Let's go ahead and compare the GFS here. So we're looking at about the same time frame here. And for the most part, it looks a little different. There's not as strong of a dip in the jet stream, but there is still sufficient moisture returns. There's still a good warm sector. So there's still reason for me to believe that there is a likelihood of a severe system possible around here. So we'll just kind of have to see how things play out from there. But we're definitely going to be watching this region for the development of severe weather. And really, as of right now, I don't see how we don't have all modes. So let's go ahead and actually look at how rich that cold and warm air battle is. If I can get this to load. I've been having a lot of trouble with this map. Here we go. Actually, it's kind of complying. But this is the height anomaly map. I don't use this one as much. I used to use it a lot earlier this year, but I haven't really had much need to, so sometimes I forget about it. But that being said, waiting for it to load. There we go. But here's a current storm system, and it kicked me out, so I had to kind of start back over. Storm system not quite as robust for the weekend, by the way. Nothing really to be concerned with. Okay, so you see this cold air out ahead of it. This gets kicked out, and a ridge starts to form on around the latter half of the 28th here. And then from that point, these 580, 82s and 585s start to work their way up into the southeast. And that's the important detail to be had on this map here. See, here's that little red area right here. It's the ridge. Here's a warm air loft. And then, voila, we have our warm sector right around here. And I have my computer freezing. Well, it looks like we're starting over with the GFS on the height anomaly because it doesn't look like the Euro really wants to comply and let me see as far as I really need to. But here's what we have going on. This is around early Tuesday afternoon on the 29th. And really, it's also showing a similar warm sector, maybe a little bit more zonal flow, which could be a bigger deal in the latter half of the day here, because this could lead to an extended period of severe weather, depending on a few other parameters. But we got a really stout warm sector over here, extending pretty much all the way from eastern Texas, just as predicted, and it goes all the way into Louisiana and Alabama. Definitely has the makings of a potential overnight event as well. We'll have to see how things progress from there. I do think the earlier half may be where we get all modes, and then we may transition into a damaging wind event maybe a little later. But we'll see how it unfolds from that point. There's still a lot of There's still a lot of questions to be answered here, like storm modes, for example. And we're going to go ahead and look at that real quick. And this is going to be a key factor here. So we're going back to Pivotal, and we're going to use the lightning flash density here. This time we're going to use it a little bit differently. Normally during the summer I was using this to kind of depict where thunderstorms could be. Now we're going to try to see if maybe we could get a sneak peek at the storm modes here. For the most part, this looks like a cluster. This looks like a big old cluster of storms as of right now. But as we move this forward, it looks like we have a little potential for a few supercells out ahead of this. Well, like I said, this is too far out to really hone in on. A lot of uncertainty here, but I have reason to believe that we could see a little bit of everything. If we move this further and further off to the east, though, this of course will start to lose steam. The main lifting mechanism will be moving a little too far north for this to be a multi-day event, and it'll probably be moving a little too quickly. But I do expect some inclement weather on Wednesday as well, albeit it won't be an enhanced risk most likely. So let's go ahead and quickly take a look at what the precip type looks like. This will be the final model to look at here. Hopefully this one will work. move this along. And here comes the system early Tuesday morning, and then we get some storms to start firing off in the early afternoon hours, or actually we get some in the morning too. And then in the afternoon, here we go. We get a few we do get a few supercells from the looks of it here, especially towards Mississippi and maybe even Alabama too. Have to see how it progresses, and then here comes the wild weather. A few more supercells possible. I'm mainly looking at more of a tornado threat actually to the east actually now. It's the first time I've looked at it at this close at from this perspective here. I've looked at all the other stuff except for the precip type, which is a little silly for me. But we look like we get a pretty big line of storms to pop off on Wednesday as well. We'll have to see how that progresses and how the SPC reacts to that. But I think there could be a 2-day severe weather event in the near future. So just make sure you're prepared because this could be a big event. We'll look at the GFS and make a little comparison here. If this will work, hopefully. It's crazy how I don't have any problems with GFS on Tropical Tidbits hardly, but on Pivotal Weather, for whatever reason, man, I just can't seem to get that thing to work half the time. Forget it if I try to use GFS. We'll look at the snowy side of this storm system probably tomorrow afternoon. But as you can see here, there definitely is decent wintry side. Euro looks like it's a tad bit colder than the GFS though. But as we look here, a little lower resolution on the GFS, so it's going to be kind of hard to hone in on things the same way. But even then, when you start to see these reflectivities here of the orange and red, those are usually going to be indicative of either heavy rainfall or severe thunderstorms. Sometimes if you see those little patches of green, or darker green here and there, it's also another telltale sign. Not as much of that, but there is something there. And then, of course, we have our snow on the backside here. The storm system moving to the north. The interior northeast looks like it's in place so far. But that's it for this video, you guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, definitely drop me a like. Appreciate it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Do you think we get a severe outbreak out of this over here? Definitely looks like that it's possible. Will we get a slight risk on the following day on Wednesday? And how much snow do you think there will be around the northeast? Alright, well, I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys a little later tonight. But this has been Tyler Metalhead Weatherman. Have a good one. See you soon.